Aloha, Mike, go. Aloha. So good to see you. In fact, it's good to see anybody these days. And it's been a while since I've been back, and so thank you for having me back, Unity. I really appreciate it. And to Margie, thank you. When she called me the other day, I think it was Tuesday, informed me that Kahu Ryan wasn't feeling well and that they might need some support this weekend. So I said, She asked me if I wanted to come. I don't think I had a choice. She called me. And so Kyoko says, I think you need to go. So here I am. So mahalo for having me back. Aloha. You know, let me start with this, as I customarily do. E ho'oluka no no ke kino a me ka ohane. E mālama pono, ka manao, ki ola, ke kino, I ka manalo a pauloa. Aloha, aloha, aloha. You know, in those words we say to unify, as in unity. Unify mind, body, and spirit. To nurture and care for that line, that alignment through all time. It speaks to our connectivity, our connection, our interconnectedness. Not just here while we're in this room, but when we leave, we're always connected. If anything, we're connected by divine. The eyes that see, the eyes that watch, the arms that caress. This is Aloha. And to be here with you on this Aloha Sunday is a privilege and an honor. First of all, Kahu Ryan, I hope you're feeling better, and we look forward to seeing you soon. And let's send Kahu some manna over there, Aloha, to get some energy. I understand Reverend Tim may be back, so I'm looking forward to seeing you as well. When Margie asked me, and I, as tradition is, I look up and, because I'm not here all the time, and I get to figure out, so what is the message for this week? What have you folks been talking about? What's going on? And yet, when I look in the news, and I think Reverend Joanna just mentioned it, there's just so much that's really affecting us these days. And customarily, I'll do a full presentation, slideshows and all, but this time it just didn't seem right. You know, it just seemed like, where is the power? I understand that this month it's power. Power of what? Comfort. Comfort is the word of the day. And so, interesting enough, when I start considering it from the Hawaiian mind, the word for power is what? Anyone? Life power. Mana. Yeah? Mana. Idea of mana. Everyone put your left hand out and say ma. Yeah, that's soft, passive. Put your right hand out and say na. That's active. That's moving forward. So we have ma and na. Put your hands together. What do you have? Mana. Life power. Right? So I think, okay, power. Power of what? Power of spirit of, the power of spirit of Aloha. And so as I thought about the spirit of Aloha, this being Aloha Sunday, I said, so from the standpoint of comfort, what does that mean from our kupuna's mind, comfort? Well, interesting enough, one of the words for comfort in Hawaiian is maha. You say that, maha. So on one hand, we have mana, power. And on the other hand, we have maha, comfort. Mana maha. Now, how does that happen? Right? No accidents. Mana maha. Now, what's interesting is, as I just said, in ma and na, ma is passive, it's soft, it's internal, it's inside, it's towards me. Yeah. As in mahalo. When you say mahalo, you're not really saying thank you. What you're saying is we are now connected. So when someone gives you something, you say mahalo. Oh, in that word maha is comfort. Mahalo. But when you receive something from, you say, oh, mahalo. What you're really saying is we're now connected. Mahalo. If you can't say that, just say thanks. No commitment, right? But interesting, when you say mahalo, maha is in there. There's some comfort in that. There's something that's connecting us in this. And the last part of the word mahalo is alo. Alo means to be joined, to be connected, as in aloha, to be joined and connected with the spirit of the divine, the breath. And so when we greet one another, or say some goodbye, when we're saying aloha, we're really making a commitment to say that you and I are connected. Every time I see you, whether it's a minute, an hour, a week, We are connected. And I'm going to honor the breath, the air between us to say aloha. So when you say aloha, it is a commitment that I honor your space and my space, your air, my air. I damage your air, I damage my air. Aloha, a commitment. Yeah. And again, if you can't say that with that commitment, just say hi or bye. None of it has a commitment. So here I am thinking, we go, okay, mana and maha. How do we talk about that? And believe it or not, Keakua, divinity, provided me with the opportunity just this last week. In as much as things have happened over the week. A week ago, right around now actually, I was on my way to church services to meet my mom in Kailua. And as I was driving through Waimanalo, there was a detour. And I said, I'm not going to make it. So normally I pick her up, we go to Mass, and I said, Ma, I have to meet you at church. I'll see you there. So I followed the detour, took it, and I found another way to get there. Now, mind you, I grew up in Kailua, so I know all the back roads. And here I am, I'm going through, and I come to the street, and I'm making a left. And as I am making this left, there's a gentleman sitting at the stop sign. Well, the problem is he wasn't sitting at the stop sign. He kept coming through the stop sign. So as I made the left, he and I met. His truck met mine. Right? And fortunately, I had enough opportunity to see him that I sped up just a little so that I wouldn't get the T-bone steak. And what I got to do was get hit, and I got spun around a little bit. So as I sat there thinking about it, I was about to get out to speak to this man who, by the way, happened to drive away. So he looked at me, and he sped off down the road, and I'm going, hello, aloha, good morning, what just happened? Well, fortunately, a witness drove up and said, are you okay? And I said, I'm fine. She goes, I'm sorry. I said, for what? I didn't get the information on the truck. I said, that's okay. We'll figure this out. So I went over, filed the report, went to church, met my mom, had lunch, we discussed it. But I realized that there was something going on in me. This, thing, how can you do this? There's a part of me that just wanted to get up and go. I did look around for him, I'll be honest. But not for the purpose of chasing him. I just wanted to know, is he okay? Is the truck okay? And more importantly, get the information. But in the process of driving around, I got to process. And I finally got home, and I processed, and I processed, and I processed. And I finally realized that I had to find comfort. And that comfort was through aloha, the spirit of aloha. Now, many of you know, some of you know, that I'm a practitioner of ho'oponopono. And a lot of my work is around that, which is about making right, forgiveness. I'm also recognized for the work I do in spreading aloha. Now, interesting enough, here was the opportunity for me to walk the talk. The week before, I was invited, and have been now 5 years, I think, since they've been doing this session. It's a group called AUSA Land Pack. Now, this is the gathering of 25 of the Indo-Pacific armies, protection services, police departments, militaries that are assigned to protect the 4 of the 6 people that live on the planet in this region. So these are the guys with the guns, with the planes and the ships and all that kind of stuff. So anytime I'm requested or invited to come and speak to them, I have to change my schedule. Because if I can spend just a few minutes opening that conference with a few remarks about peace, aloha, and ho'oponopono, I like to think that if someone has the urge to push the button, he'll think twice, right? Or the next time they get the alarm, they don't automatically jump in their trucks and pull out their guns and start firing. If 5 minutes just to welcome them to their conference with aloha and ho'oponopono can change the mind of one, it's worth the time. So that was a week before, and here it is a week later, I'm getting hit by the car. On Monday, I'm supposed to be talking to another group, teachers who are working with children in an immersive school. And they wanted me to come and talk to them about Lua. I happen to also be a Lua practitioner, which is about bone breaking, muscle manipulation, and that kind of stuff. So this is called schizophrenia in action. you preach on one day, break the next. So you have to figure out, right? Anyway, I said, well, if I'm going to speak to these Kumu, and they're going to share this message with their haumana, their students, then certainly I can't come in talking about breaking bones or hurting people or being angry. And therefore, if I'm going to go speak, I need to let this out. I need to get rid of this. And of course, during this week, we saw other reasons to be angry, to be upset, as those had picked up weapons of mass destruction to hurt our communities and our children. And so I started writing something down, and if you don't mind, I want to share some of the thoughts with you. Because in actuality, my presentation was already done, thanks to Kiao. But if you don't mind, I'd just like to read some thoughts to you about how this maha, how this comfort came about. Looking to Aloha for comfort. The power of manna, the power of the spirit of Aloha. This is kind of funny. I kind of think back. Paul's letter to the Corinthians, Ramsay's letter to the Unitarians. Right, we'll see. In light of recent events, to the man who hit me a few days ago, I want you to know I'm okay. Basically, I told him, hey, we're all right. Everything's fine. There was no one else in the car. But you would have known that had you not run away. Right? But it said, I want you to know that we're okay. So that's kind of what the first part was. It said, I realize you may not care, but you should know your behavior insults and offends the memory of your ancestors and brings shame upon you and your descendants. While I may not know your name or where you live, you know. They know. You must live with that. Now, why do I say that? Because our behavior, right, how we behave, what we do in the closet, we may think no one is seeing, but our ancestors are seeing. We walk around knowing our behaviors in the outside, and at some point in time, how do you release those? And in Ho'oponopono, this is about forgiving. Forgiving what? Our ancestors, but also asking our ancestors to forgive us. And so I needed to establish that because I was now talking to myself as much as I was talking to him. My ancestors are watching me. I am the extension and the line of my kupuna. But more importantly, I am laying the next stone for the child following. And so if I lay a path of anger, they will walk a path of anger. If I lay a path of fear, anxiety, they too will walk that path. And so inasmuch as I may have been disturbed or angry, it was important to oki, to cut that, to release it then and there. Why? The world is full of that right now. We don't need any more of that. If anything, it's the old story about putting your hand on the pond to stop the ripples. Failure. Every time you do, you create more ripples. So I realized I needed to step away from the pond for a moment. Stop the ripples. So while I may have good reason to be angry, I offer prayers of forgiveness instead. I didn't get to church to pray with my mom, but I did offer prayers. And what were those prayers? And I say this: I pray for forgiveness for me and my ancestors, for any wrongdoing, harm, offense, action, inaction, word or deed that caused injury, pain, or distress or discomfort, for whatever we've caused that led to our unfortunate encounter and my experiencing your disregard and lack of care. I got to experience that. Again, there's no blame in this. I'm not blaming him. But what happened is that in that moment, I got to see, I got to witness what that looks like. And if anything, the concept of aka, mirror, the shadow, I got to see the mirror in that moment. What is it about me that allowed me to be here at this moment to experience that? There's something we may have done or contributed, I don't know, consciously or unconsciously, but at some point in time, there was a detour. It directed me. I made choices to come to this place to experience that. So to a certain degree, as much as angry I might have been towards this individual, I had to take some responsibility for myself, right? I was there. How many would say, oh, it could have been somebody else? Who'd want that to happen to somebody else? I wouldn't want anybody else to have it, right? It's me. So I have to take responsibility for that. And it was in that moment that I said, okay, that's what it is. So the next part is, please forgive me. That's what we said. Please forgive me and my ancestors. Then we switch it around. Aloha. Aloha is about giving and receiving. The reciprocity agreement of extending oneself to allow it to come forth, to find comfort. And so the next words are very, very simple. It was just saying that I pray my ancestors in the spirit of Aloha and Ho'oponopono, and I can extend the same forgiveness to you and your ancestors. To whatever it is you contributed, whatever you've done, that create the hewa, the huki, the tension, all the things in our lives that brought me here, brought us again today to see what cowardice looks like and fear and anxiety looks like. Because there's a lot of that in the world today. There are a lot of us running from things. There are a lot of us hiding behind so-called statements in order to provide us with opportunities to hurt others. It's because they did this, we can do that. Right? We're looking for the excuse and the reason to do the things we do, including bombing innocent people at great distances, to justify our ability to hurt others because our egos have been damaged. In that case, my car is fine. It's going to get fixed. It's insured. I walked away from it. But at that point in time, it was my ego, my anger, that someone would hit me and run. Yeah, granted, I would not want this to happen to anyone else. But in that moment, really, where was the problem? I walked away from it. But I have friends and students whose parents have not been able to walk away from homes being blown up. I know parents now that can't walk away from the fact that their child's not going to be there tomorrow morning. And yet, I got to walk away. So kuleana, the responsibility then for us in those places is to really find ways of extending this, we talked about earlier, peace. How do we find peace? Well, if we don't live it and don't demonstrate it, then that's going to be the difficult part. So the rest of my prayer went simply like this, that one, I pray that whatever it created the condition for you to run, because if you ran now, it made it easy. You probably did it before. Or you likely do it again, right? So if it's because you didn't have insurance and you didn't have your registration or your license, my prayer is that conditions will change to make you whole so that you can do this the next time something happens. And more importantly, I pray for you and your family, should someone else run into them, that they have better care than the one you demonstrated today, right? I also pray that whatever it is that frightened you, that creates this fear, this weakness or cowardice, is replaced by confidence, strength, and courage to live up to your responsibilities, as all of us should. This is my prayer. My prayer is that all of us, men, women, children of age, color, doesn't matter where we come from, at some point in time, find comfort in knowing that we can turn to Aloha. Yeah, it's not going to change bad behavior, but maybe if we Aloha someone before the bad behavior, we can prevent it. Maybe if we show a little kindness and guidance and show and reach in the deep power of Aloha to walk that talk, not just speak it when it's good. Yeah, it's easy to talk about Aloha when things are nice and comfy, nice cup of coffee. But to be in the highway, to be in the battlefield, to be able to then find the level of discernment that allows us to take the next step forward. It doesn't necessarily forgive bad behavior, but my forgiveness allows me to move forward. We all have to be accountable. And as far as I'm concerned, they say, justice is mine, says the Lord. Who am I to get in the way of the Lord? So my prayer is that whatever happens to this gentleman or to any one of us that finds ourselves in a situation like that, is that we can look deep into our hearts, into our minds, and recognize that there may be a different path, right? Seeking vengeance may not be the answer. And right now, there are a lot of us in the world that would like to seek vengeance. There's a lot of things that give us reason to be angry and to seek others. But I'd like to ask us here today to put out a different message, to send out a different energy and spirit, that spirit of Aloha. That if there is going to be an invasion, let it be an invasion of peace. If there's going to be an attack on anything, let it be an attack on the hearts and the minds of those who would do harm to others. And that they be attacked with a missile of Aloha that will penetrate any hardness that may already be there. Yeah? This is the war for peace. How do we really begin to? And the juxtapositions are just crazy. Does that make sense to you? Does that resonate in any way? Because I don't know that we can end it by continuing it, right? You hit me, I hit you. You hit me, I hit you. At what point does it stop? It's when you step back and say, it's enough. Let's stop. Right? So let's consider this. Everyone say this with me. What is it about me that allows me to see in you what bugs me about you? See, that's the underlying prayer. That's the thought. What is it about me that allowed me to experience this right now, this time, that person, this thing? What allowed me? What is it about me that allowed me to see this? Because the other guy didn't see this. All the other people in Kailua did not see this. I saw this. Therefore, it's about me as much as it is about the man who delivered the experience. So to that point, I actually have to say mahalo to him. Now, how crazy is that? Thank you for hitting me. It now allows me to see what I'm all about. Now, who goes there? At least before church and you have wine. I don't know, right? I hope this message kind of resonates and gives us at least an opportunity to reframe, to rethink, and to find ways of actually operationalizing this thing we call Aloha. It's not just a word. It's a way of being. To alo, to be in the presence of that greater spiritual thing called God in every one of us. Those that would harm us and those who would help us. If we can find enough Aloha for those who would harm, and perhaps plant that seed with them sooner or more often, they would choose a different path. And we wouldn't be seeing the kinds of things we're seeing in the news today. But when we do, instead of going quickly to that place of anger and defense, stop for a moment and pray for forgiveness, as well as extend it and release it and allow people to move on and learn. Does that make sense? Thank you. Let's do a meditation. I ask us now, if you would, just take a moment to look into your hearts and into your minds. Is there a case, regardless of how old it is there a person, is there an opportunity that you can take your hand off the pond and stop the ripples? That you can extend the request for forgiveness, as well as extend the forgiveness to someone else. Take this moment to remember the empty chair that is never empty, the person that was before you, those that follow. To all who need blessings, to all who could be relieved and provided comfort, allow it to come forth, this thing called Aloha, the spirit of Aloha, that comes from a greater place in the silence.